You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen Duplessis, America's Mortgage Mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen Duplessis, Mortgage Mastery Mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hey everyone, it's Jen. Wanted to let you know that we are holding a virtual summit Thursday and Friday, November 12th and 13th. And it's called Who Moved My Business? So if you've ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, we're taking a little spin on that and talking about how to position yourself best for 2021, given the fact that we are still going to be in COVID. And more importantly, things are not going to go back to normal. They are going to be like this for the future because everyone has realized how much how valuable it is to be able to do virtual events. So I wanted to let you know that we are having that event and we will have the link in the show notes so you can go right to the event. It's a free event. It's complimentary. Would love to have you join us for 2 days as we talk about everything and anything to help your business grow in 2021 by talking about who moved my business. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit back or are you going to plan for the future? Because the future is a series of nows. What you're doing right now affects your future. So come on over and join us, spend 2 days with us and learn as much as you possibly can to get yourself a great launch and jumpstart into 2021. So I can't wait to see you there. Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to this episode of Mortgage Lending Mastery. Today I am delighted to have a guest with me by the name of Luke Shankula. I was going to need the Luke and the Kula together, but Luke Shankula, who is with Paragon Digital Marketing Group, and he's going to be talking to us today about how we can be getting more leads per month. And I'm not going to put the number out. I'm going to let you put the number out, but how you can be getting more leads per month with some digital assets that he's going to be talking about with us today. And then he's going to hold back and give us one little snippet during the Beyond the Podcast episode. So if you're a member of Mortgage Lending Mastery, don't forget that you can check out the Beyond the podcast in our private Facebook group. But that doesn't mean you're going to hold out completely.
No,
we have a lot to share, but we're gonna save one little nugget for that part of it. So I want to welcome you to the show, Luke. It's so great to meet you, and I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to chit chat during, in the green room before we came online.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself. I know that you were in the mortgage business, in the mortgage, space. You're still in the mortgage space, but you were actually a loan originator. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I would say I was really an originator, but here, the story basically goes, I worked for a reverse mortgage company up until 2017, January of 2017, they shut down, basically they laid everybody off, and so I decided that I thought I wanted to start a contract processing business. I closed 2 deals. I realized I never wanted to do that again. Shout out to all the processors out there, especially right now.
Yeah, like woo,
that are dealing with all this volume. And then I got my license to become a loan officer. I started sort of messing around on Facebook, trying to figure out how to run my own ads. Fell in love with marketing, and that's kind of how I got into marketing. Is I was trying to do it for myself. I did generate some leads, but realized pretty quickly that loan originator wasn't really the path I wanted to take, right? And so that's kind of what brought me into doing digital marketing. And obviously because I had the background working in mortgage, I sort of fell into working with loan officers, helping them generate their own leads, right?
Yeah. A lot of times in life, don't you think it's not what happens to you, but what happens for you?
Yes.
So, look where you are now versus, oh, they shut down all the reverse mortgages and, here we
Yeah.
are now. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here and I'm glad that we're having this opportunity to chit chat. So, I think right now, anybody who's listen to this, and of course we won't be released for a couple of months, but look, rates aren't going anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
We've had little blips of them going up and down and stuff, but they're really not going anywhere. So, most loan officers are now saying, I don't want 10 leads. I don't want
Right.
20 leads. I don't want more leads. They just go away, right? So let's talk about what's happening right now in this kind of a market that you're experiencing with the people that you're working with. What are you hearing from them? Because I imagine not everybody's killing it. I have to tell you, not everybody's killing it. I coach people that come to me and they're not killing it yet. And that's because they just don't have the right systems in place, to draw the business. So tell us what you're hearing out there right now. And then I want to talk about something else about that, but tell us what you're hearing right now. If someone's listening and they're saying, yeah, I don't really want more business. I'm not going to listen to this podcast. I'm going to say, hold on, because he's got an answer.
Yeah, and that's totally true. Is we do hear that a lot. Obviously, we work with a lot of pretty decent producers as well, and so yes, they're super busy, but a lot of them understand that this is a long game as well, and they're building their pipeline for the future, right? And so the biggest piece that I see a lot with the loan industry is so many people are very stuck in the transactional mindset. They're so stuck in day to day. They're so busy today that they can't think for the future. And the problem with that thinking is you get stuck when the market drops out, when you lose those rates that you're getting right now. What happens? Where's your business at? Because you've been so focused on today and picking up dollars today that you neglect the future. And so a lot of the people that understand that are continuing to spend on marketing. They're continuing to grow their pipelines. They understand, especially the people that understand that these rates are not going to be around forever. And so they're building their purchase pipeline as well as they're building. And so mostly what we do is purchase ads. We do dabble a little bit with refinance. Typically we get about 10 to 30% of what we deliver is refinance. But I don't generally like to work, to be honest, with people that are refi only, just because I just find that they're so, again, stuck in that mindset of they need to close more deals. And so, yes, there have been people that have, stopped, even though they're getting results, or even though they love our system, they've stopped because I'm too busy right now. I just don't have time to call. And so the reality is that happens. And so we get that. But a lot of the guys, especially when they have teams or they've hired people to call the leads, right? Because sometimes they can't do it themselves.
That's what I was going to say. Now refer them to me, Luke. Just send them to me when they want to quit because they're too busy. I'll help them.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Like one of the things we find is that so many people don't have processes in place. And so they say they don't have time, but really what that means is they're not very good with their time, right? And
they don't have a scalability of it.
Right. Right. They're processing their own loans. They're chasing conditions. They're doing all these things. And like, as a loan originator, you're a salesperson. You should be spending
So
the majority of your day.
Hire somebody so you can grow. I know, it's crazy. Right. Well, the good thing is I don't have to ask my follow-up question, because I was going to say, I always say this is long-term or short-term gain for long-term pain if we're not careful.
Right.
Because, and this is historically what happens with realtors and loan officers anyway, is that they do really well when the market's great and they don't do as well when the market isn't so good. I even challenged all of my clients yesterday. We do a weekly call, and I challenged them all yesterday. Think where you were a year ago. Woe is me. Oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't know what to do. And then boom, COVID came, rates came down, and you're just busier than a bee. So, it's being prepared for that. So let's talk about what you are doing for the people, right now to, grow their business. And I imagine that, this is client acquisition specifically for loan officers. Correct. Yep. And then how is that then helping their relationship with their realtors if they're referring people?
Yeah. And so that's part of the, I guess you would call it fuzzy ROI. I don't know exactly what you say, but that to me is the beauty of a system like this, that we can get direct to the consumer. Traditionally, the flow of leads goes the opposite way, right? Like you're cold calling 40 realtors on Mondays. We all know that whole spiel, all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing against that. There's nothing like as a marketer, I love all kinds of marketing, right? Like, I don't care if you're cold calling, just figure something out that works for you. I'm not going to tell you that Facebook ads is the best thing in the world just because that's what I do. That just doesn't make sense because it all works. But the reality is that there needs to be, you know, something like that going on, right? There needs to be some sort of flow of business. Yes. And here's the other thing that I like to tell my people, you have to be a good loan officer first before you start trying to, like, because a lot of people, they'll just like buy one of these programs, they generate a whole bunch of cheap leads that don't convert. And then, but they're missing out on, or maybe they do convert, maybe they're great leads, but then they miss out on the piece that really matters, which is closing loans on time, communicating, all of these things. So it's like, you have to be a good loan officer first before you start trying to dabble in giving referrals, all these kind of things that everybody thinks that's what the realtor wants. Yes, that's something they do want. But the first thing that they want is to close their loans on time.
They want money.
Right?
They want the commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, and I think this is a challenge for realtors too. You know, a lot of new realtors buy into Zillow and then find another a loan officer who's willing to buy into Zillow. And really, there are very few, and I could probably name 4 or 5 people that I've met, loan officers, that Zillow has been killer for them. The rest of them are saying it's just, you know, a waste of time. And I really think that, you know, that has a lot to do with sales skills and conversion skills, process skills. I mean, there's a whole plethora of skills that are missing, you know, that are perhaps the problem. And so I really like that you're saying, you know, get good at being the traditional loan officer first, and then entertain bringing in the mass numbers so that you can, you know, streamline your time, you know, your sales time. And I don't want to go into that, but yeah, streamlining your sales time with everybody, you know, every conversation becomes shorter and shorter because you just get better and better at it.
Well, and the other thing too, is that so many times loan officers, business owners in general, they think that just getting more leads is going to solve their problems, right? That they're throwing a bunch of leads into a broken system, and then they're trying to blame the leads. They're trying to, like, but then you think it's like one person that's worked with 10 different agencies, or that's bought Zillow leads, that's bought Realtor.com, that's bought all these leads. You're like, there's only one constant in that equation, you know? And like, yes, like some of the leads do suck out there, and to be honest, there's a lot of bad providers out there as well. But the reality is that the top producers, they understand that it's a numbers game. They understand that it's all about follow-up. What does that look like? And that's one of the things that we do in our program is we help with the follow-up. We teach them how to sell. We help with we have automations, all these kinds of things in place, because I found out early on in my career doing this was that just getting leads was not enough, right? That's what I thought was important too, was just the leads, but that's like the 1 to 10%. Like, it's just a small piece of the iceberg that's sticking out. That's what everybody thinks is important, but really you need to have a follow-up process. And the other problem is people think it's just taking the app, but it's like, okay, you take the app, then how do you get the docs? What's your process to get the docs? Then when you get the docs, what's your process to get them with a realtor that can get them into contract? And then when you get them into contract, what does that process look like? Because if you mess up any of these pieces of the puzzle, you're going to potentially lose that potential client. Right. There's so many different.
And it's identifying, you know, especially for conversions. I really talk really heavily on conversions because, my goodness, it's just a real easy thing. But it's the bottleneck. Find out where your bottleneck is, you know, in your process. Where is the bottleneck and where is it falling apart? That's not allowing the conversions, you know, obviously to go through. So if someone, you know, someone's, you know, they're listening here and they're like, oh my gosh, not Facebook ads again. What are some tips or thoughts or things that you can help them, you know, to say, hey, look, this, and by the way, they're not going away.
No,
they're never going to go away. I mean, this is the new normal. You know, people in the beginning of COVID said, hey, it's temporary. We'll go back to normal. This is the new normal. And instead of trying to change the world, let the world change us. Right. And this is something that, you know, we just have to accept that the world is changing, and, you know, we can fold our arms and be, you know, bitter about it, or we can say, you know what, let's be better. How do we make ourselves better? And as a loan officer, you know, and I can say from my, you know, my 35 years of experience in funding $1 billion in loans, is that you have to have multiple revenue streams when it comes to this. And I'm not talking about being an investor and that kind of thing. I'm saying you have to have multiple revenue streams in your practice. It can't just be begging and pleading from realtors and begging and pleading from realtors. You have to find some other avenues.
Right.
So what are some things that you'd like to say to those that are listening that are maybe naysayers or just have their arms crossed and saying, I don't know this Facebook thing. So
about Facebook. So,
well, just about what you do and how you help people with Facebook. Yeah.
yeah. And so, yeah, and that is a very real concern because, everybody does, kind of talk a little bit bad about Facebook leads, the quality, yada, yada, yada. But ultimately that comes down to, the way you run the leads, right? So primarily what people are doing, because it's the easiest way to run ads, is they're running ads to like a homes list, or they're running it to like a listing. So they're working with an agent and they get, hey, give me one of your listings, I'll run ads to that. So while that's great to generate a ton of really cheap leads, the problem then becomes that you are dealing with people that just wanted to see pictures of a house. And so while you're getting, 50-cent leads, $2 leads, $1 lead, whatever, you're getting contacts versus actual leads of people that are interested in buying a home, right? And so one thing that I would say, especially for loan officers, is just switching, even if you're still going to continue to do just a short form name, email, phone number sort of ad, I would say switch to mortgage angle ads. You'll see a much higher level of intent. Now the quality comes down to a few different factors, whether that be, talking about 100% financing, talking about zero down programs. Guess what that's going to attract? It's going to attract people that have no money, have bad credit, all these things. Like, yes, you're going to get cheaper leads. But the reality is that doesn't matter. You're trying to focus on the wrong piece of the equation, which is cheapest cost per lead. And really what you should be focusing on is cheapest cost per acquisition. What's your cheapest cost to get a pre-approval, right? Like how can you bring those numbers down versus cheapest cost per lead? Because the other problem that most marketers and people that are running ads on Facebook don't talk about is, in my opinion, there's three types of ROI, right? There's the monetary ROI, which everybody talks about, but then there's also mindset. So you're calling through 300 leads to get one deal. Like you're gonna burn out pretty quick.
Absolutely.
And then there's the opportunity cost, right, of your time. You're spending so much time dealing with all these people that don't want to talk to you. Whereas if you can increase the quality of the leads, so we do long form. They're filling out 10 to 14 questions. We're segmenting the credit so that we're basically looking for people that have 620 credit or self-report 620 credit or better, stuff like that to improve the quality. And then also, again, the ad copy doesn't talk about 100% financing and stuff like that. And so what you'll find is while your cost per lead goes up a decent amount, you will find that the quality is much higher, the intent is much higher, and you're starting to find the right sort of people that are actually looking to buy a house and not just wanting to see the 40 pictures that you promised them that you then withhold. And
Right. Well, and so it gets down to the old saying of less is more, and we all know what that is, what that's about. So could you share with us one of your clients that you've walked through this? They came to us, Jen, so and so, Susie came to us and here was her dilemma and here's where she's at. What were some of her struggles as she went through and kind of learning this process? And then how has she emerged on the other side with the success?
Sure. I mean, so we've had obviously people from all sort of like levels of success, right? So we have one client, Dave, who's been with us over a year. He was already successful in his own right, top 1% his entire career. And so he just told me he's closing 7 loans this month from our leads, and he has another one that maybe might close on the 31st, maybe, or maybe not. So maybe it's just 7 this month. And so he had huge success, but he was already very successful. So, to say that like, take any credit for that. He was a great salesperson already. So it wasn't like, it was just, hey, providing him the leads and getting him the right system, right? What I like to see the best is when we can take someone from good to great, or we can take someone, to that next level, right? So we had another girl that just got licensed. I think it was in March. She started to have some traction talking to people, and then COVID hit. And like, she's like, wait, what do I do? Like, how do I get more business? Right. Brand new LO. Like, how do you go network with realtors? How do you do any of that sort of stuff? So she decided, you know what, let's invest in this program. And so one of the things we do, like I said, is we do coaching. We have 2 LOs in the group that coach every single week on how to convert internet leads. They've been in the business forever. Maybe not in business forever, but they've been doing internet leads for the last 4 or 5 years. So they're very good at them.
So they know that sales process. Yeah.
Right, because it's so different than referrals, right? If you treat an internet lead the same way you treat a referral, you're obviously not going to have the success that you think you're going to have, right? It just doesn't work that way. You got to build trust, all that sort of stuff. So what happened with her is she literally told me, she was like, it took me literally this first 60 to 75 days. So they're going on I think their fifth month is coming up, but they have a few loans in underwriting. They're closing a couple deals, but they said literally the first 70 days, 75 days was just like trying to figure out how to work the system. One was because they didn't know the guidelines that great.
Yeah,
because obviously they just started in March.
Yeah.
And generally we don't like to work with people that have less than a year experience because of that. It's like very hard to get good at being a loan officer.
Yeah, the barriers to success are bigger. Yeah.
Yes. It's hard because like you have to learn to be a good loan officer, and you're also learning to be a different type of a salesperson, right? Nothing against referrals. Referrals are awesome. I think everybody should go get more referrals. But the sales process for internet leads, and this is the problem with what a lot of people think is internet leads are bad, is just because yes, it's your conversion rates are much lower than you are with referrals. Obviously, like it's a totally different level. But I've also never seen someone build a business from like 0 to 50 loans in 4 months. Like I did with one of our clients. They literally started a brand new branch, and within 4 months they had 50 loans in their pipeline. Never seen someone go get that from referrals in 4 months. No. Right? That takes time, right? And so I've never seen that. And so, you wonder why all these big companies, the Quickens of the world, they're spending millions and millions, if not billions of dollars on direct to consumer ads.
Because it works.
Right, because it works.
It works. It works with the right salespeople saying the right things, the script, which is really what I want to do in Beyond the Podcast. What I want to do is ask you to share some quick scripts for people that get leads. I mean, even if they're internet leads, it doesn't matter. They're the third guy. The realtor gives 3 names, or the third guy. And to me, that's a lead. That's not a referral. Mm-hmm. And so how do you convert those people really, really quickly? And I want you to save that for on the podcast, if you would.
Perfect. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, we've been doing that's one of the things I added about in December. I started kind of testing having coaches in the group. And I launched a Facebook group for my clients as well. So it was like a mastermind sort of thing. But that was one of the things that really exploded the results for our clients, was being able to get in a room and kind of see what people are doing, or like a Zoom room, right? Not like, in the exact room, but just going over scripts.
We have to explain that these days. It's like, we get it. We get it. If we're in COVID, we get what get in a room.
Yeah. A breakout room, right? No. Yeah. But it was good because then we do role play sometimes, or people ask specific questions about objections, or we talk about like what happens. Hey, how do you get the person from an application to get docs back? Because that was one of the things I learned, was like, at first I was like, they just need to get the application. And then I realized then the problem just gets kicked down the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
The next problem is docs.
Downstream problems, start coming along, that, the whole downstream part of it. So Luke, if someone wants to get a hold of you and says, look, I'm going to give this a shot. Hey, look, we're doing really, really well, and I'm going to hire somebody to take on these kind of phone calls. And so I'm going to create another revenue stream for me, because I just heard the 0 to 50 and my whole branch could benefit from this. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
I mean, they could shoot me an email at luke@paragondmg.com. That's probably the easiest way. I'm also on Facebook. I mean, you can find me on Facebook. That's honestly, I built the majority of my business just organically posting results on Facebook. So if you're not using social media to organic social media to get clients, you're missing out on a huge revenue stream. Yeah, and I'm sure, Jen, you do the same, right?
On there. Yeah, everyone's on there all the time. Well, and we'll also have a link for them to get information, about your company as well, for your Loans on Demand company. And we'll have a link there as well for them to go there to, find out information. Do you have a demo?
A demo?
Yeah. Do you have like a demo? Could someone request a demo to kind of see what it would be like to work with you? Okay. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we generally do like a first intro call with people and just kind of see if it's even a fit. Cause ultimately what I want to do is I only want to work with people that we think that we can help. Right. Because at the end of the day, if someone's, only closing 1 deal a month, it might not make sense. They might have to just go, grind it out a little bit more. Right. It needs to make sense, because the biggest thing with internet leads is it's a long-term play, right? It's 5, 6, 7, 8. Like we had one client who didn't close anything for the first 6 months, but then she just told me that she's closing 8 deals over the next 45 days.
Right.
Right. And so
it's like anything, right? That, that growth and, and I'm going to talk about that right now, just for a second, but these stages of growth, and people fail to understand that, is when think it's a chart, right? It's a chart of it's the 5 stages of growth. And the first is formulation, and there's no business happening, right? It's really low. It's formulation. The second's concentration, where you now have a formulation, a strategy, a plan, and you go out and you implement it, you take action on it. And by the repetitive nature of the action and making twists and turns and tweaks and assessing and tracking, you then can create momentum, and then that momentum leads to stability, which then leads to success. But what a lot of people don't understand is that you could have a mortgage practice or a real estate practice that is 20 years old and it's stable, but you're introducing a new revenue stream like Facebook ads. You can't predict it. You can't be in the mindset of I'm stable and successful. You have to come down to the formulation and say, for this, I have to reformulate.
Yes.
And I think that's so important for people to understand, because, I have 40 years of blood, sweat, and tears that has brought me to my success. I didn't become an overnight success.
Right. Yeah, overnight success is definitely a myth. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They only see it as an overnight success because they didn't see the grind that you put in, right?
Right. So, they didn't see all the years they did. And that's what happens, in anything that you introduce new is to make sure that your mindset and your expectations are that, hey, I've got to go through this process to get to success. And some people it's faster and some people it's slower, but everyone goes through each one of those stages to get there. And I think that's really key and critical. So, and if you're listening in, this is what my recommendation being, I'm always about taking action, is go to the website that's in the link that we have here in the show notes. Go to the link, find out information, get some preliminary information, schedule a demo to see if it's even something you want to do, and let Luke and his team guide you as to, what your next steps would be, so that you could bring in another, maybe you only want to bring in a couple more deals a year. And it's maybe you've never referred a realtor ever. And this is so that you can refer a realtor, right? And you don't even care if it's in your back pocket, because that one referral could lead to 4 or 5 referrals from the realtor back to you.
Right. Well, and I'll even tell a story about that. Is that same client that I was talking about didn't close anything the first 6 months.
Yeah.
She then, like about 2 months ago, she told me that she had referred out basically 5 pre-approved buyers in like a week. And she got from one of those agents, she got back 5 deals.
Yep. There.
Right. And so again, there's the fuzzy ROI of doing this, but obviously again, it comes with a foundation that you need to be a good loan officer. You need to have good processes. Because just because you're giving someone business, yes, you're making them business, but you're making them money. But if you're also losing them money over here by, dropping the ball, that's not going to work either.
Then
right?
Yeah, you won't get it back. Just, reciprocation is really good, but it'll stop really quickly if it's not founded on a good quality client experience. So, well, Luke, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And for those of you that are members of Mortgage Lending Mastery, and don't forget, if you're not a member, go ahead and get signed up. there's a link below and you can get signed up for Mortgage Lending Mastery. For those of you that are members of Mortgage Lending Mastery, hang 10, because we're going to put you into beyond the podcast, and we're going to talk about some scripting that you can use, whether you use this product or not, to help change and increase your conversions as well. So thank you again for joining us here today, Luke, and everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to give us a great rating, give us a great review so that we can continue to serve you. And again, thank you. As always, thank you so much for all of your feedback that you give to me, about listening to the podcast, about what I'm doing to make the world different for you. So we'll catch you next time on Mortgage Lending Mastery.
Thanks, Jen.
You bet.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.